Welcome again, everyone. Very good to see you all here at our Friday webinars. Today we have a slightly longer webinar. It's 1.5 hours long. And we do have the captions in Zoom, the automatic captions. So you can use the CC function in Zoom if you would like to see the captions. And if you would like to ask the speakers anything, then please use the Q&A function as usually. My name is Susanna Lorin. I'm the Research and Innovation Officer at Funka. And I have today with me colleagues and a distinguished panel that I will present just in a while. So the agenda for today is a little bit of housekeeping as usually, and then we are presenting a European funded research project called Buddy. And we're also doing a demonstration of some of the results of the Buddy project. And we open up for Q&A from the audience so that we make sure that we describe everything in a good way. After that, we take a short coffee break so that we stay alive and kicking when we present then the panel. So we have a very broad and interesting panel with experts from different countries and different sectors to discuss the assistive technology for people with cognitive disabilities. And then after that, what I hope is a very lively discussion with the panel, we wrap up and then hopefully it's precisely 2:30, at least in Central European time. So that's what we are trying to achieve today, and let's see if we can manage this in 1.5 hours. So just shortly, first a presentation on Funka, since we have participants from all over the world and many names that we haven't seen before. So extra welcome to all of you, of course. Just wanted to say very quickly that Funka, we are a small accessibility expert company with the headquarters in Sweden. But we work in all European countries and beyond. And we were founded in the mid-90s by the Swedish disability organizations who came together and wanted to do something around web accessibility for people with disabilities. And we are now a consultancy and a privately owned company since the year 2000, so more than 20 years now. We do provide analysis, training, and support like most accessibility companies do. But we also do quite a lot of research and innovation. Around 20% of the turnover comes from national and European level research projects. So, and that is one of the research projects that we are presenting today. We have a very close collaboration with individual end users and disabled persons organizations. They are our parents in a way still, and it's also there we find all the interesting topics and also the expertise, because from our point of view, accessibility expert is a nice title, but the real experts are the users. We do also work quite a lot on policy and regulations, EU being under quite strict regulation these days on web accessibility. And of course, we're very active participating in creating standards, and we do quite a lot of studies, both for the European Commission and also national governments. So quite a broad spectrum of activities that we do. We're also one of the proud founders of the International Association of Accessibility Professionals, IAAP, and we are also running the Nordic chapter of the IAAP, covering Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Finland. And I personally am also the representative from the G3ICT and IAAP to the European Union. So anything around that is also kind of very focused in what we do. So Buddy. The Buddy project is, we're calling it Buddy, your best friend, and hopefully that will be the case after the project is ending very soon. So this is really one of the last things we do in the project. And the idea is to create something that could be perceived as the best friend for end users with cognitive disabilities. So a little bit of background, why are we doing this? Why this project? So from the end user perspective, it is usually very hard, or can be very hard, to understand what I need. I know my abilities and what may be a challenge when I use a computer or use the web, but I may not even, as a user, I may not know exactly what's out there, which solutions are there, what am I supposed to look for, really? That's hard to know from a user perspective. Also, even if I do know, maybe a friend of mine has a gadget or a tool that I would like to use, then I don't know where I can find it. Is it something I can download, or do I need to buy it, or can I get it through the assistive technology kind of government system, or how does this work? That's also kind of a tricky question for many users. Also, if I have to pay for it, or if I have to sign up for something, or if I have to register somewhere, really both the where and how can be quite complicated. And this is true for all end users, I think, but of course becomes even more complicated if you have difficulties reading or understanding the content. So another question that is often very important is, of course, if there is a cost attached to using the assistive technology or the tool or the service or the solution, or if it's something that can be provided via the tax-paid system. And then, not least, if and when I do get my assistive technology and that works well, how do I get support? Who can support me when something goes wrong, or when I need an update, or when it all of a sudden doesn't work with my new operational system or something? That is something where we see a big gap in quite many countries. So it is a difficult situation for end users, even though there are loads of good tools in the market. We know that there are many good services and solutions and tools and assistive technologies everywhere, but really they don't always meet with the end users in reality. So there's kind of a matching problem here. And I've written "Welcome to the Maze" on this picture, because when we look at how this assistive technology provision works in different countries, is really amazingly complex. And it differs between member states, and I won't go through all of that, but it's really difficult for the end user to understand how to get the right assistive technology. And it's also sometimes hard for the industry to know how to find the users or how to reach the users in a good way. And in the middle, there's some kind of assessor who's working for the government and wants to make sure to match or to bridge the gap and be in the middle. And that could also be a tricky situation, because there are so many different market players in different countries, and not all tools are made in all languages. And then the user needs need to be assessed. And then there's kind of a complex system of well, the structure is very complex. Just one example is that in some countries there are different system for when you are under education, or if you're working, or if it's for leisure, then you can need to have 3 different contacts with the government agencies just to get the tools that you need. So it's really unnecessarily complex, at least from the user perspective, I think. So, and let's hear what the end users say about this, so that we know that I'm not inventing this. We have a short video of the end user perspective. This is the project website. So let's see if we can make this work.
Buddy, supporting users, an EU-funded project carried out by Funka and the Johannes Kepler University. This is a short interview with Philip.
Jag heter Filip, jag har ADHD, Asperger, autism.
My name is Philip, and I have ADHD, Asperger's, and autism. I use my phone mostly to chat, use Google, and read my email. I use the computer almost exclusively to study. For example, writing a master's thesis and things like that. I also watch streamed content. Do you encounter any difficulties on the web? Especially with my calendar. I have downloaded a very good calendar that is visually very good and clear. But if I were to set an alarm on everything that I need the alarm for, the mobile wouldn't do anything else but alert me. And that doesn't work for me. I would be very stressed, and I'm sensitive to stress. I often therefore forget things such as, oh, I should have washed my clothes last week. And when I remember, I have to change it to the following week. I often think, I should have done this. I should have bought that. I need to push things forward all the time. Finally, I procrastinate. I don't have the energy, and I think, I'll fix it later. So it's a problem. It's energy demanding. Do you use any assistive technology? At the moment, I don't use any assistive technology. I stopped looking for it long ago because often it was only the trial version available, or there was a cost right from the very beginning. It didn't feel good. So right now, I don't know if there are any good assistive technologies on the web to download. What do you think about the Buddy project? I think the Buddy project is a very good initiative. I would like to try it. I would give it a try. www.buddyproject.eu. Buddy. Buddy. Supporting.
Need to push the right button there. So that was just one intervention from a user, but I think it says quite a lot about the difficulty and the situation. Even though you know that there are tools out there and you have a need, you still don't really find the tool for you. So that's why we created the Buddy project. And the leader of this project, or the project coordinator, is Johannes Kepler University of Austria, and we will hear Klaus Miesenberger in the panel in a while talking about this. And then Funka is the other partner, and this is funded by the European Commission. It's a so-called pilot project, and it's just 1 year long, and it's ending right now. So the interesting thing, another interesting thing about this project is that it's also kind of based on the award-winning Easy Reading project that we did together, also JKU and Funka, and also other partners together, a Horizon project that we finalized a couple of years ago. And that will be also shown a little bit in the demo later on. But so this is kind of a step 2, where we want to make sure that we empower the users to be more independent in the search for the right tools for them. The implementation of this project has been like a waterfall methodology. So we have collected a broad spectrum of user needs via several stakeholder consultations and surveys and interviews and so on. And then categorize them after how the user needs can be supported by different tools. And we had done quite a lot of prototyping and testing to make sure that we can present this in a good way. And during the whole project, we have made an iterative design and development process so that we have user tested and refined and user tested and refined and so on. And this has been done both in Austria and in Sweden, so with 2 different user groups, so to speak, but also with a broad spectrum of cognitive impairments. And we have also had discussions with the market, so both AT assessors and, of course, the IT or AT producers and suppliers, providers, the whole ecosystem of assistive technologies. And we have done the whole project has been carried out in a very kind of user-driven way. So first collecting the end user needs and making sure that we have that we understand what the cognitive user needs are, that we can kind of try to overcome or mitigate with the challenges that we can overcome with technology. And then we have created a repository of the assistive technology that we have been able to find online. So it's not a repository of every assistive technology in the world, but it's the repository that covers quite a few of the assistive technologies that we have seen to be useful for the users we have had active in the project. I think it's around 67 or so tools that are currently in the repository. We also wanted to make sure that the user can search and find and get recommended tools in multiple ways, so that we don't only provide one way, but multiple ways to interact with the system, to make sure that we address as many user abilities as possible. And the really cool thing with this project is that we then added an AI recommender. So based on what the user is doing, providing input, and my colleague Lisa will show this in a while, the user doesn't have to provide user preferences in the old-fashioned way, but the idea is that the system should learn from the user instead. And based on AI and a very clever rating system, the tool can actually, the platform can provide a recommendation about what assistive technology is useful or suitable to your needs. So the user doesn't have to search the web or ask someone. The tools are already there. And also I don't need to understand and kind of describe my own needs in a complex way. The system is going to understand from my behavior what I need and provide a suitable list for me. The rating system is also interesting not only for the machine learning part, but also to be able for the industry players, the market here to get user feedback from actual users in the system. And for us, this really has to do with user empowerment. We want to have the user kind of as the focal point around this. And the really good thing is, of course, to have all the tools in one place, so you don't need to go to different authorities to look for them. And we have tried to make it as easy as possible to both search for tools if that's your preferred style of doing it, and also to try different tools, because sometimes even though they're very well described, it can be very hard to know if it suits me or not. I need to try it before I know if it's a good one or not. And of course, the recommendations piece here is very important, and also a way to interact with the user so that we know that the fitting is made as relevant as possible. And really, what is the really positive thing from the user perspective, I think, is this idea of the system learning from the user behavior instead of the other way around. And by the way, I think that should be the way all technology works always, so that I don't need to learn new things. The project is also aiming to bridge the gap from another perspective, namely the industry perspective. So because today many assistive technology producers and providers, they need to sell not to the user, but to an agency who is procuring things. So this would be a completely new marketplace where assistive technology can be presented to users in a new way. Of course, one very important benefit of this is the live user feedback that can be received here. So of course, assistive technology producers work with focus groups and do testing, and I'm absolutely sure they do. But with the buddy system, they could get much more user feedback from a wide variety of users and really learn from that and make sure that their tools be refined and improved from the user perspective, from the user needs. It's also a way to really create new solutions or make sure that the tools are even more precise in solving problems for users or challenges. And it could also be a test bed, of course, if you want to push new functionality or do a big user test with kind of all users on the market and get feedback on that. That's also something that could be done through the system. So now I will ask Lisa to demonstrate how all of this looks as of today, and I'll stop sharing.
So thank you, Susanna. And hello, everyone. My name is Lisa, and I work as a UX designer at Funka's Research and Innovation Department. And it is my big pleasure to have the chance to show you the buddy platform here today. So I'm going to start to share my screen so that you can see the buddy platform. So hopefully you can see it now.
It's perfect.
That's good. So the platform has support for different languages. And as I am in Sweden right now, the platform originally took me to the Swedish version of the site. But as I'm going to do this demo in English, I have changed the language setting here to English. I have different windows open, and I hope that the platform won't get confused about this and change back to the Swedish version. But if it does, you understand why. So the platform is fully accessible and compliant with the requirements. But to make sure that users with cognitive impairments can get the extra support that they might need, we have also added the easy reading tool to the platform. And that was the tool that Susanna talked about earlier. And you can find it up here to the right. And with this tool, the user can get reading support on the platform. So it can read the text out loud. You can change it to a darker interface. You can also adjust the size of the text and also the line spacing of the textual content on the platform. So that is here. To be able to fully access all the content on the Buddy platform, you first have to create an account. So you do that by clicking the button here, create an account. And then you get a chance to choose how you want to create your account. And you have 3 different options. You can register with Facebook, you can register with Google, or register with email, whatever suits you the best. I already have an account on the platform, so I'm going to switch now to a window where I'm already logged in. Let's see, like this. So for now, we can just pretend for a moment that I am an end user that have gone to the Buddy platform to look for a tool. So what happens when I have created an account and entered the Buddy platform for the first time? Well, as a user, I now get the chance to tell Buddy what kind of support that I'm looking for. And with the target audience in mind, we have tried to make this as easy and fun as possible. So instead of going through a process where you have to adjust different settings, I can do this in 2 different ways. I can either answering questions about my preferences and needs, or I can choose to play some games. And then based on the results, Buddy can then give me a recommendation of what kind of tool that would be suitable for me. All the tools in the Buddy system is categorized within 9 different support categories, covering everything from calculation to reading and writing and time management and memory support. And both of these options, answering questions and playing games, are based upon these support categories. I don't have the opportunity to show you all the games here today, but I thought that I could show you a little bit of one of the game that is about focus and memory. So I'm gonna switch tab here to the game. So you can do this with me. In this game, I will try to remember and keep track of a coin that is hidden under one of the cups. So I will start this by clicking the start button. So where did it go? I think I lost track there for a while, but no, I think it was here. Oh, that was wrong. It's okay. I get a chance to try it again. But I'm going to stop it here and go back to the overview. But as a user, I go through these games, and based on the result, Buddy then can give me a recommendation on the tool. But I will proceed and show you the other option here, and that is answering of questions. So I'm switching tabs here once again, so we don't have to go through the whole process. So you can see here that I've already started this, and I'm in the middle of the process of answering these questions. I have answered about half here. And as you can see, also the questions here is based on these support categories. So this question is about support for managing tasks. So I get the question, do you find it sometimes difficult to start or finish a task? And I can choose 3 different options here. Yes, no, or it depends. I think yes. So I choose that option and click next. The next question is about memory support. Do you need support for memory? Yes, no, or it depends. I think that it depends. And then I click next. And it's time management support. Do I sometimes find it difficult to manage my time? Yes, that can happen. And the last question is about choice management support. Do you find it sometimes difficult to make choices on everyday tasks? Well, it depends. When I have answered the last question, I click the finish button. And now I can see that my preferences has been updated. And now, when I finished, Buddy can recommend a tool for me. So I will go to the tools page that I find up here. So this is the tool page, and here I can see that I'm on recommendations right now. And here is a list of the tools that Buddy thinks would work for me. So for each tool, I can see a small image and the name of the tool, and also a short description. I can see what kind of support this tool offers. For this tool, it's managing tasks, memory, and managing time. I can also see what kind of operating system this tool is available for. And here it is Windows. I can see the supported languages, and also if this tool will cost me any money or not. If I find a tool that I like, I can either add it to my list of favorites to look at later, or I can proceed straight away to download the tool. And then I click on the button how to get this tool. Then I will go to an overview page where I will see the different links to the external websites where I can get the tool. I also have the possibility, if I want to, if we go up to the top here, to change, to not only see the recommendations for me, I can also go and see all tools. So I'm switching here to the all tools instead, and then the list changes, and I get a chance to see a list of all the tools that are in the Buddy repository that are supported with my language. So I can see it here. And if we go to favorites, here I can see a list of all the tools that I have saved to my favorites. And here I also get the chance to rate the tool. And based on this rating, if I like the tool or not, I rate by choosing the different stars here, so from 1 to 5. Based on this rating, Buddy can then give me even better recommendations in the future for different tools. And if we're changing perspective here from the end user perspective to that of an AT producer, the rating system gives the opportunity for AT producers to get direct feedback on how well their tool is being received. And these ratings are not shared publicly, but it's a fantastic way for AT producers to learn from the user. So you can say that the rating system has two objectives. It is to learn and recommend better tools for the end user, and for each AT producer to get specific feedback on the tool. And this is, of course, a big benefit, as most AT producers are not selling directly to end users, but to government agencies, and rarely get this direct feedback from end users. So the platform benefits both end users and AT providers, and not to forget about AT assessors as well, that could use the Buddy platform to find tools that support different user needs. And in the end here, I thought that I could just show you the page where AT providers could go to enter tools in the system. And then you just click here on my AT entrance, and then on the link add new assistive technology. And this is quite simple. You just enter the name of the tool, and then you choose from the different support categories what kind of support that your assistive technology offers for end users. And then you click submit. And after this, there is, of course, an approval process where the admin of the platform has to review and approve the assistive technology before it's added to the repository, and then later shows up here in the list of tools. But that was the end of the demo. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Susanna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. And that went well. I still admire your courage for doing live demos. it's amazing, but it works. So that's good to know that it's actually working. And of course, there are more features than this, but this is like a short demo of the most important parts of the system. So I think we are open for questions from the audience now, and maybe Klaus Giesenberger, if you want to join me to respond to questions about the project. So we have Herr Professor Klaus Miesenberger from JKU, one of the most clever persons I know, who is the coordinator of the projects. Always a pleasure to work with Klaus and his team. So we have got quite a lot of questions from the audience. That's good. So let's start from the top. Who can have access to Buddy? Do the users need a diagnostic to access it?
As it is installed at the moment, no. So people can go there. It's at the moment freely available. And so to say, the challenging thing is to get more and more tools involved. So to say, to have a richer experience for the end users, that the recommender has a better list of tools which are useful for them. In the long run, as said by Susanna, this has been a research project. What we are searching for and what we are in need is a strong cooperation, be it with end user organizations, be it with AT industry or tool providers or other players like collections of assistive technology, which would like to use or integrate this approach into already existing repositories, information systems, and that we could, so to say, interface with them and add a very valuable approach in terms of recommending, in terms of rating, and so to say, allowing end users that they could independently use these rich repositories which are out there, but so to say, which need a considerable amount of knowledge that you are even able to use a repository or collection of such tools.
Thank you. So we have a question about payment. Is it going to be free to use, or does the user have to pay or get it from a counselor? So of course we want this to be free of charge for the user. I think that needs to be that way. Again, the project is a research project. So this is kind of a, I mean, the platform is there, but it's still more of a proof of concept, and there needs to be a business model and an owner for this to survive after the project. And so, but definitely, I don't think this would be of any use if you needed to pay for it. But maybe the assistive technology market would be able to pay for it. Who knows? We can ask the panel after the break. So another question is, where do the games to recommend tools come from? Did you create them, or do they come from previous research? So Klaus, this was made by your researchers, so I'll let you answer that.
The first collection of games has been developed by ourselves based on prior research, which we started already and which brought Lisa and Susanna and myself together about 10-15 years ago in terms of such a game-based approach for profiling, for finding the right requirements and orienting research, but also finding the right tools. So we developed this first set of games. And of course, this is to be expanded in the future. It needs perhaps input from a psychological, sociological point of view to optimize them. And of course, to make, so to say, the games much more granular and to cross-reference requirements, skills, and so to say, to find different functionalities of tools which could be combined and things like that. So it is a start, yes, and we designed it ourselves.
Thank you. We have another question, which is, isn't the rating really not just for the tool, but for an unknown combination of the tool and the buddy system recommendation?
Thank you, Mike. I was expecting this can only be from Mike Wall, this question. Absolutely. So at the beginning, we try, so to say, the rating proposes features which might be part of different tools and makes a list. And of course, it's still the cumbersome situation that, so to say, to suit an end user in the best way, you might need 2, 3, 4, 5 tools. But what we try to generate with this, and what was outlined by Lisa so wonderfully, and Susanna already said, this is an incentive for AT industry, but also for research and development, so to say, to allow this, as we develop nowadays anyway, net service-based, cloud-based engines, which allow to combine functionalities which in the end provide a richer and the best user experience. But we are not there. At the moment, you are actually right. We are proposing tools which might be a too long list for end users, but this teaches us already now, seeing your question, that this poses the right research questions which we have to follow.
And hopefully more research projects.
Absolutely.
So, we will save all your questions to further proposals. So thank you. And then we have a question from Sarah. What is the quality control process of the AT entered into the system? Do you check criteria for cognitive accessibility?
Thanks for this question. Yes, absolutely. So to say, if a tool is entered, it goes through a quality process before it is, so to say, opened, that it could be integrated into the search and recommending system.
So, and then we have a question from Carlos. Can we start using Buddy? Is this the right URL for users? It's HTTPS I can't say that, develop.buddyproject.eu. I think that's where the that is the system, right? That's the platform. So maybe Eva, if you could just post that in the chat so that we share that with everyone. But yeah, again, it's not like the perfect system with everything in it yet. It's still a research project, but definitely please do go in and try and provide feedback if you have any. So thank you for that. And then Gottfried has a question on, I have a question about the way you are tagging the tools, reading, writing, understanding, etc. Did you come up with these tags or are they based on a standard or previous work?
If I should answer, this was excellent support from Funka. They do a lot of work in this, so to say, really quality controlled criteria, which we should follow. We based, of course, the list which we're using at the moment on existing state-of-the-art and literature we found. And in particular, of course, the system is open to be expanded, to be reflected, discussed, so to say, how to find better criteria to allow a better pattern matching process in the system and find better usability and recommendations for the end users.
It's a very diplomatic answer from Klaus, as always. But I think the real source here is a big research project that we are currently carrying out for the European Commission. It's not public yet, but it will be public quite soon. So it's based on several different, previous research and so on. But the categorization we do there is kind of refined or maybe simplified to fit the Buddy project, and the groups are a little bit blunt, but they need to be in the beginning, and I think that could be refined as the rating system and the AI processes evolve. So this is kind of the selections we have right now. And then we have a question, why a separate platform? Why not just an add-in for browsers? So when I go on doing my regular stuff online, the add-in would monitor my actions by my permission and recommend assistive technology for me. That's an interesting idea. What do you say, Klaus?
Thank you very much for this idea and for this question. This is actually the consideration. This is a one-year research project. We have a prototype there. Our consideration was already, as it was presented, the easy reading tool, so to say, which you have, and this would be the way forward. We have the cloud-based infrastructure for tracking, for getting the data. Of course, it needs security, privacy layers and everything like that, but this is exactly what we would like to do. And easy reading is a browser plugin, which is at the moment available on Firefox, Chrome, Edge, but also on iOS and other mobile platforms. And this would be the way forward, so to say, that you have the Buddy functionality integrated into an interface like the easy reading one, so to say, that you can do directly. So to say, you have a task which you want to fulfill with digital tools, you face a challenge, and then you can call up which tool would or which functionality would help me best. And so to say, then This would start the buddy recommender engine, and you might right away connect the functionality which you need in a cloud-based, service-based infrastructure, would connect the functionality to your browser, and you might get the right user experience which you expect.
Thank you. So we have a question on the next step for the platform. Will it continue? And that we have used many different open source tools, but the question is if we also plan to create some adaptive games or activities to support different skills. And the answer to that is that I think both Funka and JKU will continue to do many things, but this project is ending now. It was a one-year project. So within this specific framework, we can't do more than this. And we are, as Klaus mentioned before, we are looking for somebody to take ownership of the platform to make it sustainable in the future, either funded by government funding or making a business model out of it so that the industry takes care of it in one way or another. So this is our little baby, and we hope that it will start flying or swimming or something on its own after the project end. But we are in contact with many different partners, and then we are quite hopeful that it will continue. But for doing more games and things like that we would need more a new project and new funding. But I'm sure we will continue to do many things both together and each one of us.
Perhaps I can add here, if for those who are in research development, we have a very strong interest as a university, and perhaps the question comes out of this direction, so to say, to open this also as a platform for doing research and development, because so to say, we have the infrastructure. If somebody has a new idea for a game or whatever, and would like to do testing with end users, finding possibilities for cooperation, I think this would be the ideal place that we provide possibilities to integrate the game, the idea into the buddy infrastructure, and so to say, allow students, researchers, developers, not doing a huge development process to re-establishing the whole infrastructure for the whole thing, but so to say, bringing the core idea they have in terms of using a specific game for identifying needs and so on, integrating it into this research framework, and then see going out and integrating it into the long run into a more professional recommender system, which is part of a repository or is on the market itself.
Thank you. So we have a question about, so this is a repository, but wouldn't a physical demonstration room with all products be a much better and also needed? And I agree that is also needed, but the project was about an online tool, so we can't do everything that is needed in the world within one research project, but I agree with you. And there are also demonstration rooms and places, exhibitions. Under the pandemic, it has been good to work on an online platform, but I think generally, yes, both are needed. But what this project was about was to create a digital repository.
I do disagree a bit here, because actually the buddy tool goes into the workplace of the user. So to say, I don't see actually at the moment, there might be, if we talk about physical assistive technologies, I agree, but so to say, the buddy tool and the recommender works on the actual digital tool the end users are using. So it goes directly into the workplace, into their home, into the educational system where they can use it. And perhaps I'm wrong here, but this would be a very good discussion. I agree. Where do we need also, in addition, an actual physical environment for a demonstration? At the moment, as we talk about digital tools for supporting cognitive accessibility, I think, so to say, we did the right thing, because with this internet-based connected approach, we bring it directly to the workplace, to the everyday activities of the end users. But perhaps I do not understand fully.
No. So I think it's sometimes needed a context and maybe a caregiver or a friend or somebody to show you. But if you can do that in the physical space and use the online tool, then I think that is perhaps a good combination. So And can the end user access Buddy today? Yes, and we have just shared the link. So how does the Buddy system fit in with the Eastin database, which works across international repositories? That is a question for Klaus.
Thank you, EA. A wonderful question. We are in contact with Renzo Andrich. We are in contact with members of Eastin, and we really would love to motivate them to, so to say, integrate the Buddy approach into their unique and broad and internationally connected repository of tools which are out there. The second thing, the second approach, or one of the further approaches towards sustainable use of the tool in the future is how can we motivate AT industry that they, so to say, help and support bringing in information about their tools into the system. The issue is with the collections like Eastin and the national databases of assistive products, we do not have all the information there which we need. So there is still a strong need to describe them. And there you are right, Eastin could be a partner. This would be, so to say, the additional categories, descriptive information, which could be added at a meta level or whatever. And so to say, Eastin, yes, we are in contact and we do hope to find possibilities to cooperate with them.
Okay, so we need to move a little quicker here so that we can end up this and have a break before the panel. But we have one question: what are the responses from the intended end users? So we did user testing in Sweden with a broad variety of users, mainly from the neurodiverse spectrum, and also some caregivers and a control group. And I must say that they were very happy with the system. And of course, it doesn't work 100% when we do the user testing. So we can't say we have 100% happy customers, but really a lot of interest from all stakeholders that we have been in contact with. And also, I think the users really like the idea of being independent and not having to ask someone else in the system. And I know, Klaus and your team, you have done the user testing at the in Austria at your university.
Yeah, absolutely. So immediately when you tell end users about the idea and they understand, they want to have it. Of course, sometimes frustrated when they come and we show them a bunch of about 70 tools which are there, but this is natural to a project of 1 year. But we do hope soon that we can expand.
Okay, so we have had some things in the chat as well, and sorry if I can't see them all. It's difficult to do two things at once, but we have just a comment that in the US, some of the apps may have a cost. That's true also in Europe, but the opportunity to try an app in a demonstration center or program, it could be beneficial, and that I agree with that. That's not really in scope of this, but it's definitely something that we would hope that the system could do in the future. And then we have a comment from Malta about something similar and who wants contact. So I think Eva is reaching out to that person. So thank you everyone for all these very good and intelligent and interesting questions, and Klaus for answering them so well as usual. And it's now 10 to 2, so let's take a 5-minute break, move around, take some coffee, do something to keep energetic, and then in 5 minutes we will get back and ask our panelists to enter the room and have a very interesting discussion, I'm sure, about assistive technology. So, but now time for a short break. So I think it's now 5 to 2. So let's see if we can have our panelists joining us. We had a very live panel today. One of the panelists is in the car, hopefully not driving at the same time, because that will be difficult, I think. Yeah, look, no hands. And also another one on the phone. So from not all over the world, but from the UK, Sweden, and Austria, we have a very distinguished panel with us today. So please welcome David Baines, long-time assistive technology expert that I think all of us knows, now back in the UK, and also managing the DAT Europe, or DAT Europe, I don't really know how to say that, which is the industry organization for assistive technology providers. And also my new friend, David Hofer, who is the CEO of LifeTool, an extremely interesting company who is not only providing assistive technology, but also does a lot of research and many, many interesting things that I need to dig deeper into to understand everything. So welcome, welcome David and David. And then Lisa Kashmiri, my old friend from Frösunda. She is a support supervisor, I have just learned today. It's a very fancy title as well. But Lisa is working very close to end users with cognitive disabilities in a company that is doing not only care centers and personal assistance and things like that, but also quite a lot of research. So very, very happy to have you with us today. And last but not least, Neil Milliken from the car, but also the, can't remember, the very fancy title, Chief Accessibility Boss of the Whole World something at ATOS. But today representing the end user perspective. So I don't want to ask you to list all your all the fancy things that you claim to have in your brain, but I know that you are both on both sides here, in the industry and also on the neurodiverse spectrum. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and please again the audience, if you have any questions to the panelists, then please use the Q&A function. But I wanted to, and we also have Klaus Miesenberger in the panel, of course, but you have had your chance to speak, so I will start with the others, I think. So if we focus on the cognitive side of things, what do you think, how could we maybe improve the assistive technology provision sort of on a general scale in Europe? What do you say, David Hofer? What's your take on this? How do you think it could be improved?
Well, one thing is what you've mentioned already, David Baines and the DAT Europe. So we call it here, so the assistive technology industry, the European version of it, association, all the things you have mentioned, different funding systems, different availabilities, different solutions. I think the first step is to support what you've established already, the Buddy project. And we, David Baines, should discuss it with the next DAT Europe meeting, how we can support it. Maybe you have already some ideas on how to do that.
I didn't pay you to say that, but thank you.
No, of course not. No, not yet. Maybe. So that's the first investment. But I think compared to the, I might be totally wrong, but to a so-called market like the United States, Europe is very complicated, and to overcome this, we need to work together. And this Buddy project is a great approach.
So if we go to the other David, not the second, but the other David Baines, so DAT Europe as a more of an industry ecosystem perspective, what do you think? How would assistive technology provision be improved? You don't have to say it's the Buddy project, it's the solution to everything, but from your perspective, what could be done? Because this is policy, there's so many aspects of this, but how could we improve it?
I think it's interesting because I think the Buddy project reflects a sort of trend towards greater self-determination of assistive technologies from within the disabled population. And actually, I would just add on, I looked at Buddy and I thought as somebody who's now close to 60, aging is also a big issue. And I could see how Buddy in its current form would be helpful to people who are aging as well, where perhaps things like memory, organization fade over time. So that issue of self-determination, I think, is really important. I think some of the big challenges that we face, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, is this blurring between assistive and accessible consumer technologies. Many of the technologies that people with cognitive function issues want are actually things that are in consumer technology. And that leads us onto a problem, which is the funding, which David Hofer mentioned, is so fragmented within Europe. And actually, very few, we did a little bit of funding research at DAT Europe, and also with the Gary project, very few of the funders will pay for consumer technologies. they only fund products that have been designed specifically for people with disabilities. And that's a problem. So the one exception to that, and I'll just flag this up as my final comment, is the work being done in Ireland, under Enable Ireland with Siobhan Long, on the AT Passport, which is a model of direct funding to the end user, who then self-determination using something like Buddy identifies the products they want, and they are automatically funded as long as they're agreeable. And I think this whole linking together self-determination of funding and decision making probably is the right way to increase use of AT in Europe.
That's a very good point, David. Thank you. You told me you just flew in from the US and would be tired, but you're brilliant as always. It's good to have you here. So Lisa, from your perspective, you're working really closely with the end users here. So what do you think, what would be a way to improve the assistive technology provision from your perspective, being in Sweden?
Yeah, well, I have to agree with David, what you just said. One of the problems is that it depends where you live, how the costs are paid, what is available for you. And there is, of course, always the cliff between consumer products and the AT specialized products. I think the platform, the Buddy platform, and the discussion before about showroom and Buddy platform, this is a very important discussion because Buddy takes this showroom where the end user is. And this is also something which we need, because the end users always have quite a little knowledge about what is out there, and the staff and the people near them also. So the platform like Buddy also educates and informs, not just makes available, but we know what there is, what to ask after, and hopefully that you could also try some demo version, because to make a decision to know what you need, you often need to try it. So I was very happy to see what the Buddy project was. And I'm also happy to see all these opinions, because this is really, really difficult field, as it's said in Europe. What can you get? Who will pay it? Who informs you, and so forth. So we need to put all together. We need to have a different kind of approach. And I think, as was said, that we have to give the power to the end user to decide. It must be, we must change this system.
That's a huge task, but yes, we do.
Yeah,
So let's give the floor to the end user representative here. Neil, you will represent all end users. That's also not an easy task, but from your perspective, what could be done?
I think the signposting of the features is something that we need, because it's even you've got the same problem with Buddy that you would have with the awareness of assistive tech, in that the people that most need it probably won't have heard about it. So you're going to need some kind of push for adoption and some kind of signposting, because even with stuff that I know, if I can't see, there's no visual cue to a menu, for example, it may as well have disappeared. So making that stuff really visible and putting it in the foreground so it grabs the attention when necessary for the end user, so that they become aware that they have something that can help them, it is really important. And then you have, yes, from a non-end user point of view, but from an implementer point of view, all of the complexities of the different systems, the language preferences, the funding, and all of that, which are issues that I'm grappling with as I try to provide this stuff for my colleagues. So the signposting is probably the most important thing, because without the signal that it's there, then you carry on doing what you're doing.
That's a very good perspective. Thank you. So I don't know, Klaus, if you have something more to add, or if kind of Buddy is the response to all of this, or do you see anything else that should be improved, or did we solve it already?
I never would like to say we solved everything. So to say, we have we try as researchers, as developers, to come up to experiment with ideas, approaches. And as so often when you do research, if 1 out of 10 ideas, concepts which you have works, you should be very lucky in research and development. And it's the same with Buddy. It is one part of a big puzzle, which was very well outlined by all the panelists here. And so to say, as it was said, the issue which we are facing here is we have to turn around the incentives. At the moment, there are people who are in charge of providing AT, but who are not the users. What incentives do they have? And then we have those who fund it, the commissioners or whoever. And we all struggle with their incentives because they only want to get the thing out of the table and out of their view and things like that. And this is the background thinking also of Buddy or other approaches in terms of turning the incentives around, giving the power to the user, and so to say, and then the right incentive chain is starting, because the end users will then demand from their caring or supporting environment, will demand from AT industry, will demand from the funding organizations and so on. And this could work, or perhaps we need another tool and another approach which could solve the puzzle.
So Neil, you raised your hand.
Yes, I did, because when we're providing this stuff for our employees, we're trying to make it something that is available for individuals to be able to self-serve. But there are constraints to that self-service in that when you're working in a complex environment, you need to be able to support the interoperability of these assistive technologies. So whilst we fully support user choice, there are constraints to user choice if you want this stuff to continue to work consistently. So there is a balance to be struck between allowing the users everything that they would desire, which perfectly meets their requirements, and the burden of on an organization of being able to support multiple versions of quite similar assistive technologies.
Yeah, that's true. That's also an important perspective here, definitely. So thank you. My next question, it has to do with how the specific user needs could better feed into kind of the development of assistive technology, because it seems like sometimes when we do research on this, that, I mean, there are very good tools, but sometimes they are a little blunt or kind of square and not really perfectly fitting with the user needs and so on. So if I ask you, David Hofer of LifeTool, how do you make sure, or how can we better as a community make sure that the users and the assistive technology industry kind of works closer together? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Sorry for my delay, because we don't do anything without involving the user. So the user-centered approach and involving them into any kind of developing a solution or solution will fail anyway. So for example, I would have this is the only thing, Philip, you've mentioned at the beginning, the video. I would have been amazed if he would, part of our panel, if he would be here to let us know about his thoughts live and online. However, no thing you develop without involving the people you're developing it for. So user involvement from the beginning on it should be natural. It should be yeah. If to me it's so somehow so and also for Klaus and we work together also. We're not too far away. KII, the organization who does peer-to-peer reviews and so on. This is the only way.
I think it's clear to all of us because we
Yes.
work in the field and we do this in the right way. But I also think that some users may not feel that they are involved or that their voices are not getting heard. Of course, we can't involve everyone, but I still think there is some kind of a gap here that we could try to bridge more on a societal level, because it's really difficult, at least from our experience, to have
Yes.
users with cognitive disabilities to enter into standardization. They're kind of not really involved in a respectful and good way.
Actually, this is an issue. Maybe something for another project, to have a database of people who are willing to join and to get invited for, getting things developed and so on. So there's I agree, there's a gap between people who could be involved, and the people don't know how to get involved. So gapping this bridge, that would be an interesting issue. So if we would like to try some new things, and as David Baines mentioned, older people, it's quite hard to find older people to get involved in the development of new or consumer. Well, me too. However, but it's it's actually our parents, for example, if they are still here, who should try and to get them involved. Data protection policies and so on. It's not so easy. So having a database, for example, would be one thing.
So Lisa, what do you say? You are carrying out a lot of research and kind of practical work together with users from the Swedish perspective. How do you feel that the user needs could actually feed better into production and service development?
Well, I'm lucky to work in a quite a smaller content, but of course the design have to be iterative. But I understand that big companies can't get everybody to be into the focus group or in this iterative process. So I think there should be some kind of opening when the product is ready and in the market to get feedback, maybe by contacting the disability organizations, places where people with cognitive disabilities work and so forth. But I think the process can't be ended when the product is ready. We know also that cognitive disability, it's not a label, everybody is different. And when I'm working with products or technology for my customers, this is very, very long process. And I'm also including the staff around and family members, especially those people who aren't autonomous in their use of assistive technology. It's also important to check how the environment is, because everybody must be able to use the device, AT equipment, whatever it is. Yeah, but I would like to have some kind of feedback system. As a user, I use a lot of tools myself. So, and I don't know if this works, how to get in touch with companies and tell them what do I like. And of course, we have to remember that the end users we talk here don't always have a voice. So we also have to work with the awareness that this is my right. There is tools. I have right to participate as everybody else. So we need also information about AT and about access and human rights and all these things. Everything together, big task.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And David Baines, you raised your hand, and I was coming to you.
Right now, I'm just interested in what was said. I think from an industry perspective, since I've been working with the industry more, I'm actually quite surprised by how much effort they do make to reach out. Now, I'd like to say that's because they're all really nice people, and of course they are. But actually, if they don't sell any products. So if they don't design a product around needs and take feedback, from a commercial point of view, that's a really bad design process. So I think from a commercial perspective, that's actually really important. But I think there are two issues around that. And this is maybe where people don't feel that they're represented. When we talk about a specific set of needs, whether we're talking about dyslexia, autism, cerebral palsy, or whatever, there is a core, there's a group at the center. And those are what are often represented in which we get feedback into the companies. What is much more difficult to get is the outliers, the people who are variables within that large group. And they are very difficult to get feedback from. And so the first thing I would say is that in terms of the relationship between industry and the community, it's not just about, if you like, the central, the bit which everybody recognizes, it's the outliers around it, the people who are different, who have variations. But the other group I think is very difficult and who probably need more help to work with this is startups. So startups within the industry tend to come out of university, and quite often they've worked with very, very small numbers of users in putting forward a prototype, which they then want to take to market. I think the ways in which we help that community through things like incubation centers, which are focused on AT, to reach a much broader group, to get the feedback before they try to go to market. They've got a proof of concept. Now they need to prove that concept with a bigger group. So those two things I think are variables within that broader issue about how do we engage with industry.
Yeah, very good points. And I think for me, cognitive disabilities or cognitive whatever accessibility is really about everyone, because sooner, I mean, it's just be a little bit stressed and you're in that spectrum yourself. I mean, it's really about everyone. So this should be really a part of every product development phase, I think, or service development. So I don't know, Neil, if you had a quick input on that part as well.
Yeah. So I think that the points that David raised were really valid, and that there are an awful lot of users that are on those edges that aren't taken into account. And I wonder how large organizations could maybe help solve some of that using some of the tools that are available in enterprise today that are looking to proactively monitor IT equipment and user behavior to understand where people are having challenges. So obviously there are privacy issues and so on that need to be considered, but for example, an organization like mine will support millions of end users. And so what you're going to see there is you're going to be able to pick up trends and those outliers that David mentioned that may then enable us to get better insights into how we could serve people.
That's a really cool idea. If we could kind of aggregate from a large user group, that's.
Can I just add to that? Yeah. Neil makes a really good point. But I think one of the approaches we're seeing emerge is to focus on the outliers from the beginning point. If you meet the needs of the outliers, you're probably going to meet the needs of your core market. And I think we need to move away from trying to look at big data and saying, oh, then we've got these problems, these people don't fit, and start to focus on the people who don't fit. And by meeting their needs as an industry, actually we're more likely to hit that main group as well.
Yeah, that's really something to. I don't know how to make that happen, but but it's a really good point, I think. Yeah.
Actually, I didn't want to mention Bill Gates said that, you know, it's kind of a idea that you have to focus on your most difficult client or customer, and if you focus on your most difficult customer, you get solutions for everybody. So for all of yours. And I just want to say that not only Atos, but all these big tech companies providing, Microsoft and Apple and so on, these consumer electronic devices are quite accessible already. They have already teams involved, and I have seen people, going from the AT industry into Microsoft, and now like Hector, David, you know him, who's now on a government level, even taking care of accessibility. So a top-down approach, if companies, the big ones, understand that accessibility is a thing you can't just deny, and if you do, you will be ashamed, or and so on. So this is also something that is reality already. And I hope if the metaverse is arriving, we will have it quite accessible.
Careful what you wish for. So I would let Klaus answer a question from the audience. So won't most people just search on ordinary app stores rather than any specialist services? That's kind of specifically to the Buddy project, I guess. So I'll let you respond to that, Klaus.
Might well be, yeah. But so to say, what we learned is that with the end user groups we were able to talk to, that they have a vital interest. And they're really demanding for that. Of course, if they search something which is served by the open market, then they search for the apps there. If, so to say, it is much more about personalized requirements and so on, adaptations, they are very happy to get such a support tool. That's what we have found in this small project which we did.
Thank you, Klaus. So we have a comment also that most of the 80 public funding systems are medical, social model, or biopsychosocial oriented programs. A shift to rights and capability oriented public funding systems like in Norway and Denmark is needed. So here we have a little bit of marketing for the Scandinavian way of doing things. So that's a long discussion, and I think all the systems have pros and cons, but definitely I think it's a very valid point. I want to shortly just ask the panelists to say something. We only have 8 minutes, so please be careful with the time, about the future, because we have now talked about problems and possibilities and so on, and what is happening right now. And I think when I have so very clever people in my panel, I want to know what is happening after this and how you see the future. So what do you foresee, or what do you dream about? What would you like, or what do you actually think is going to happen? If we start with Neil, what do you see in the future?
So there's a lot of things happening. I think that there's a huge amount going on in the machine learning space, and people are very excited about AI. We ought to be a little bit nervous too, because the misapplication of AI may cause as many problems as it solves. I also think that the idea that you can use sort of personal digital assistants to do far more, to be much more helpful, and the improvement of natural language processing will make significant differences. It's still some way off, but being able to actually have a conversational interface with technology would make a huge difference to the usability of that tech for older people and people with cognitive accessibility needs. Because at the moment, if you're to use speech systems, you really need to understand how they work and talk to them in a particular way to have any kind of success with them at anything deeper than sort of Siri or Google play me some music or turn the lights off. But it's coming, and I think that those are areas where if we do it right, it can be really helpful.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Neil. Lisa, what are you seeing in the future? What would you like to see?
Well, to be short, I would like to see a very accessible AT, which is in usual consumer products. So we don't have to have special products, because everybody are going to need some support. Everybody gets cognitive disabilities. And I would like to change this. There shouldn't be special tools for people with disabilities, but there should be usual tools which include the support with AT, with the technology. So I hope the technology will be available, costs will go down, and it's accessible in all everyday tools. One day, maybe.
And the whole industry will disappear. So I don't know what David says about that, but
yeah.
So David, I give you 1 minute to brag about everything your company is going to solve in the upcoming years. David Hofer, if you could.
Oh, no. I don't know if you can see this book. There's a book called Framers and How We Do Better Decisions than a AI based decision. So I just fully agree with Lisa. and everything she said. I actually now are using the subtitle function of Zoom. I haven't used it before. I think it's quite helpful to read what you say. And this is, I think, a good example how it should be, and we should all work on that. That's all.
And you can retire, so that's fine.
we talked about that. When we retire, we will have virtual glasses and meet online for a glass of wine, and you know, I get fancy here, but it will be, you know, accessible.
Yes,
available.
Definitely accessible. Yes. So Klaus, can I ask you to say something in 1 minute? Is that possible? About the future?
Don't ask an academic to say something in 1 minute. No, what I wanted to say for the discussion before is we need, in particular, we all agree that we need a user-centered approach, but what we are missing are really adequate methodologies to do it. Because of course we involve end users, but these are 5, 6, 7. We address the needs of their actual situation there. And therefore, I think we are now shifting towards, so to say, more data-driven, which allows us to personalize the AT. And I'm not so optimistic that mainstream products are able to do that, because assistive technology is not a solution in itself. It is part of a service process where it has to integrate and where we have to put bits and pieces together. And the expectation that everything is done by the main market, I'm not a strong believer in that.
So you were the negative one here in the panel. That was not.
No, I think I'm very positive. I think we are actually on the right way, that we use all the features from mainstream technology, that we make it flexible, adaptable for the individual needs of users, and so to say, and bring together the assistive solution. And this, I think, with the service, which is around the end users, which they still need the counseling, the support, and so on. The preparation of the working environment, school environment, there is still a strong need for that, because disability is always a social thing, which can't be solved by technology in its own. And we integrate into what Lisa is doing. I think she means exactly the same thing, but I think it is to be part of a service. An AT solution is never a AT alone or a mainstream technology alone. And this, so to say, would be my hope for the future.
Yeah. So you did actually manage to take it in 1 minute, and then I made you talk more. So that's we're not a good team. Yeah. So David Baines, I know you really know things happening in this. So I let you finalize this, because if anyone knows what is happening in the future from a technology standpoint, that's you. So please let us know what is happening.
We're not forecasting the death of assistive technology. I think this is quite important. Assistive technology is constantly evolving, like every other technology is. What we are really beginning to understand is that, I think somebody just said it there, one size will never fit all. So if we take a look at something like dyslexia, we're seeing huge improvements in mainstream products in terms of things like Editor in Microsoft Office. But we're also seeing products which are more specialized, such as Grammarly, which is not a dyslexia product, but many people with dyslexia find the cost and use of that is ideal for their needs. And then we have people who need more powerful products with a wider range of features and functions. And that's where specialist AT comes in. That specialist AT, as I say, will continue to evolve. It's going to use artificial intelligence, it's going to use machine learning, and it's going to use that to gather feedback from users for improved quality. So I'm actually quite excited, because I think actually we're going to see a real diversity of products in the future. That's got to be good for the end users.
Absolutely. Thank you. A very positive end to this. And thank you very much, David, for sharing your thoughts. And it's now 2:30, so that means we need to wrap up. And I just want to thank my fantastic panelists who did a great job, also keeping short. I know all of you could have had a 2-hour or 2 days presentation on these topics. So thank you for bearing with me, for trying to make you shorten that up, but very good discussions. And thank you also for the questions from the audience. And my team, who did also a great job as always. And I hope to meet again, talking about assistive technology, cognitive accessibility, or the end of the pandemic, or whatever, soon. And that we will also meet in person next time we meet. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.